In episode 15 of season 1, we meet Areel Shaw, another former love interest of Captain James T. Kirk. Lots of similarities again with TNG, but we'll get to that. Once again, we're going to run down the episode and cover the relationship. So let's review Court Martial. The episode starts off with the Enterprise heading to Starbase 11 for repairs after a severe ion storm. They even lost a crewman, Lieutenant Commander Finney, an old friend of Kirk's. Kirk has given his report to Commodore Stone, who I also don't like, and they're just bureaucrats, let's be honest, these Commodores. He explains that they went to red alert before he had no choice but to eject the pod with Finney in it.
There you are. I just wanted one more look at you, the man who killed my father.
That's not so, he was my friend.
Your friend!
We get a visit from Finney's daughter, and I'm not sure if she's a painful child actor or just super annoying, but she's spazzing at Kirk, blaming him for her father's death. Spock comes down with the computer records, the Commodore looks them over, and it says that they were at yellow alert when they actually ejected the pod, which means Kirk would have committed willful perjury if he was wrong. So the Commodore clarifies with Kirk, but his statement doesn't change, and he says there will be an inquiry and a trial for the crime if it happens. Seriously, this is the captain of your flagship, and you're doubting him. Kirk and Bones go to the lounge for a drink and run into a bunch of classmates and officers that Kirk used to know, and they all treat him like a pariah, like he's guilty of some supposed crime here. So Kirk leaves, and Bones runs into Areel Shaw, who's an old friend of Kirk's, and he's a solid wingman here and chats her up.
All of my old friends look like doctors. All of his look like you. Well, you might as well join me for a drink. With this inquiry coming up, he's going to need all the friends he can get.
We find out more about Finney, but it gets repeated so many times I'll save it for when they actually talk about it in the courtroom. Stone tries to get Kirk to take a ground assignment and say fatigue has affected him. Kirk refuses in great form.
So that's the way we do it now. Sweep it under the rug and me along with it. Not in your life. I intend to fight.
Then you draw a general court.
Draw it, I demand it. And right now, Commodore Stone, right now.
Kirk goes back to the lounge and meets up with Areel. After some reminiscing and some flirting, they say the exact same thing they say in the Janet Wallace episode.
How long has it been?
6 years, 4 months, and an odd number of days. You mean you don't know?
Oh, a long time. How long has it been?
4 years, 7 months, and an odd number of days. Not that I'm counting.
You look marvelous.
Maybe that's just Kirk's move. He has so many lovers that he likes to do this to get a reminder. She's a Starfleet officer and a lawyer, but she recommends Samuel Cogley defends Kirk because she's busy being the prosecution. Kirk meets Cogley, who loves books but hates computers, which is a good thing because he's going to be arguing Kirk versus the Enterprise computer. When they get to court, I don't understand why the kid is there. It's not like anybody else showed up. A lot of the jerks from the lounge could have showed up and want to know the results of this trial. Nah, they'd just rather listen to rumors. They call Spock up to the stand, and I love what he says. The computer isn't correct because it's impossible for Kirk to act out of panic or malice. The records officer is called up next to repeat Finney's history. Aboard the USS Republic, and Ensign Kirk had to relieve Finney of duty because of a big screw up he had. So he had to go back to Starfleet Academy, and he couldn't take a command course. I mean, do I even need to mention Michael Burnham? Mistakes mean nothing. McCoy gets called up next, and the prosecution wants to theorize if Finney hated Kirk, is it possible Kirk would have sensed that hatred and hated him back? What kind of stupid basis is that for your case against Kirk? I also don't like that she played the word game and she was using theorize, yet when Spock speculated it was like wrong or something. It's the same freaking thing. The whole time Cogley doesn't cross-examine anyone because he wants to call Kirk up to the stand. We get to hear his accomplishments when the computer starts reading them off, and Areel tries to get it to stop because he has so many accomplishments. And then Kirk has to recount everything that happened again.
You have heard some of the details of my record. This was not my first crisis. It was one of many. During it, I did what my experience and training required me to do.
They pull up the computer video records and show Kirk actually pushing the ejection button while they're on yellow alert. That's gonna be hard to argue.
But that's not the way it happened.
Later, Jame apologizes to Kirk because she doesn't want him to get into trouble after reading a bunch of her father's letters. She was, after all, named after James. Spock on the ship is playing chess and defeating the computer 5 times, which should be impossible, as he later explains to the court when they all beam up to the ship. The best he could hope for was a draw. Only 3 people can actually affect the computer records: Spock, Kirk, and Finney. Which I find kind of unrealistic. I think other people could totally do that. Maybe they just don't have the access codes. But people can steal things. Kirk mentions that they initiated a Phase 1 search after they lost Finney, a detailed search, but they were assuming that he wanted to be found.
I submit to you that Lieutenant Commander Ben Finney is not dead.
It's not pulled off as cool as it could have been, but Cogley submits that Finney isn't dead, so he beams down to get the daughter, and a bunch of the rest of the crew beams down too, so that McCoy can do an experiment. Where he takes a white sound device that looks like a microphone and eliminates the sound of everyone's heartbeat that they've been broadcasting on the bridge, till only one remains. Finney's. Kirk goes looking for him, which is dumb because he shouldn't have gone alone, he should have brought backup. He ends up fighting him in what looks to be engineering.
Oh, I wouldn't kill you, Captain. Your own death would mean too little to you. But your ship?
What about my ship?
It's dead. I've killed it. I tapped out your primary energy circuits.
There is some really bad stunt doubling going on here, and Kirk's shirt gets ripped. Are his shirts made cheaper than everybody else's? Because it always appears that only his shirt gets ripped. He finds out that Finney sabotaged the ship because he wants to take her away from him because I guess Finney can't get his own command. So Kirk beats it out of him how to fix it and what he did wrong, so he pulls all these black cables and that fixes everything. The ship is saved and the Commodore dismisses the case, and apparently Cogley is going to defend Finney next. And at the end of the episode, Kirk kisses the girl on the bridge.
Do you think it would cause a complete breakdown of discipline if a lowly lieutenant kissed a starship captain on the bridge of his ship?
Let's try.
There are things I like about this episode, and there are some things that feel tedious. The trio's performance is great. Spock, Coy, and McCoy, all in fine form. Having a crew member harbor resentment for Kirk and then try to frame him was pretty interesting, but I think it could have been done better. Also interesting how everybody was stationed on Starbase 11. The daughter, his ex, all his old classmates. In the episode Measure of a Man for Next Generation, Picard runs into an old flame on a starbase who tried to prosecute him for the events with the Stargazer in the past and then plays judge on Data's rights. Why would they do something so similar? So, Areel Shaw is a human Starfleet officer romantically linked with Kirk in 2262, but they parted as friends. Shaw served as a JAG officer on Starbase 11, the only female officer who wore a dress uniform in TOS. In Beta Canon, she ends up marrying Samuel Cogley, Kirk's attorney, and they start their own legal practice. I like her more than Janet Wallace. I found her acting was a bit better and her character is a little more interesting.
Goodbye, Jim.
Goodbye, Areel. Better luck next time.
I had pretty good luck this time. I lost, didn't I?
And to be honest, there is no way an ex-girlfriend should ever be in a position to prosecute you in court. There are rules. Shaw never pops up in canon again, but does appear in some comics. Well, as always, thanks for watching.